on now. Good morning, all. Welcome. Just making sure everything's all set. It appears to be we are muted in the proper places and not muted in the other proper places. Hello, Laura Bear. Good to see you. Formidable Bear, Plane Runner, Blue-Eyed Bear, Gaia. Hi, Gaia Bear. OKC Bear, thanks for still being there, man. Thank you much. Thank you. Woo, electricity's on today. Maybe not today, but this week, right? And a lot of electricity. Today's too early to say if it's on or not. Is the light on? Yeah, the light's on. Welcome to episode 109, the definition of evil. It's funny how many people think they know what evil means. And today I thought we'd define that. I've been saying to people that evil doesn't exist, which is insane, right? And that's when we start calling me names for saying evil doesn't exist. And I explain why it doesn't exist. I do the best I can, but it doesn't always get through, does it? Because that's how it works when we're trying to explain things to people. Logos is lost without aperture. Aperture is lost without compassion. Compassion is lost when you believe in evil. And that's kind of what the gist is of this today, of today's live stream. It's the idea that when we believe in evil, we create the chaos matrix chalice necessary to pull from it, right? Evil is a dark womb, a black hole. And the thicker and more powerful you think that hole is, the larger the monster you are able to pull out of it. That's why I've always told you evil's an evacuation. That's why I'm not wrong. Evil doesn't brandish ideas of devil. Devil is flesh, blood, lust. Devil is passion. The opposite of love is not passion or hate. The opposite of love is apathy, which is why evil is an empty machine. Evil is an evacuation. Evil is something that we do to make an excuse to get rid of dandelions that we find in the grass, right? I'd like to start by playing this audiobook recording. This is from Peck, The People of the Lie.
Nor ugly. They were the upper crust of the blue-collar class. Quiet, orderly, solid. There seemed to be no rhyme or reason to the tragedy that had befallen them. First Stewart, and now Bobby. "I've cried myself out, Doctor," the mother said. "Stewart's suicide was a surprise to you?" I asked. "Totally, a complete shock," the father answered. "He was such a well-adjusted boy. Everyone liked him." "Had he seemed depressed before he killed himself?" "No, not at all. He seemed just like his old self. Of course, he was quiet and didn't tell us much of what was on his mind." "Did he leave a note?" "No." "Have any of your relatives on either side had a mental illness or serious depression or killed themselves?" "Oh, Doctor," the mother wailed softly, "you don't think that there's any chance that Bobby might also do something to himself, do you?" "You hadn't thought of Bobby being in danger?" I asked. "No, not until now," the father replied. "But I understand that Bobby's been depressed for some time," I remarked. "Didn't that worry you?" "Well, it worried us, of course," the father responded. "But we thought it was natural, what with his brother's death and all." "You didn't think of taking him to see someone like a psychiatrist?" I continued. "No, of course not," the father replied again, this time with an edge of annoyance. "We thought he would get over it. We had no idea that it might be this serious." "I understand that Bobby's grades have gone way down in school," I remarked. "Yes, it's a shame," his mother responded. "He used to be such a good student." "Did the school get in touch with you about the problem?" The mother looked slightly uncomfortable. "Yes, they did. And of course I was concerned too. I even took time off from my job to go in for a conference." Did anyone from the school suggest that Bobby see a psychiatrist? No, the mother answered. She seemed to have so rapidly regained her composure, I wasn't sure she had ever lost it. They did suggest he might get some counseling. If they had suggested a psychiatrist, we would have done something about it. Yes, then we would have known it was something serious, the father added. But because they said counseling, we thought they were just concerned about his grades. Not that we weren't concerned about his grades, too. Well, that's another thing, Doctor, the mother continued, more on the offensive than the defensive. It's not that easy for us to take Bobby here or there during weekdays. We're both working people, you know. And these counseling people, they don't work on weekends. We can't be just taking off from our jobs every day. We've got a living to make, you know. It didn't seem as if it would be fruitful for me to engage Bobby's parents in an argument over available counseling services. I decided to raise the issue of Aunt Helen. You know, I said, I may decide that Bobby will need a complete change of scene for a good while. Bobby mentioned his Aunt Helen to me. Perhaps she might be willing to take him. The mother jumped in. Did Bobby tell you he doesn't want to live with us? She demanded. No, we haven't even talked about the subject yet, I replied. I'm only seeing what all the options are. Who is Aunt Helen? She's my sister, the mother answered. But I don't think it would work out. Oh? Well, Helen and I aren't close. No, not close at all. Even though you don't like your sister, Bobby seems to have some positive feeling for her, and that's important. Look, Doctor, the father interjected, I don't know what you're insinuating. You're asking all these questions like you were a policeman or something. We haven't done anything wrong. We've worked hard for that boy. We've been good parents. My stomach was feeling queasier moment by moment. I'm concerned about the Christmas present you gave Bobby, I said. Christmas present? The parent seemed confused. Yes, I understand you gave him a gun. That's right. Was that what he asked for? How should I know what he asked for? The father demanded belligerently. Then immediately his manner turned plaintive. I can't remember what he asked for. A lot's happened to us, you know. This has been a difficult year for us. I can believe it has been, I said. But why did you give him a gun? Why? Why not? It's a good present for a boy his age. Most boys would give their eye teeth for a gun. I should
stop it there. I hope you guys get the gist of what Peck's talking about. Dr. Peck's talking about there. Sorry, I'm going to stop it there. I hope you guys get a gist of what Dr. Peck was talking about there. Dr. Peck is defining evil in his book, The People of the Lie. Probably one of the most influential books I've ever read when it comes to morality. He's showcasing you what true evil looks like from a clinical setting, what its definition of, what its characteristics are. It's the anatomy. He's giving you an anatomy of evil in plain sight. And that couple that he was interviewing, or that you heard him interviewing, were parents to two children. The first child, the older child, Bobby's older brother, took a shotgun and shot himself. Those parents, later, that you heard, wrapped that shotgun up and gave it to Bobby as a present. And they said, well, we thought you wanted to have it because it belonged to your brother. And so that's the context of what you're listening to. You're listening to two people interview with a doctor who have no idea that it might be morally wrong or morally questionable to give a rifle to Bobby when that same rifle was used in a suicide by his older brother. And if you get lost in Hollywood, if you get lost in Zionism, if you get lost in all the dick cutting, you're going to see this devil figure as flesh and blood, as blood and as passion, like we talked about. You're painting a picture of someone who has a fetish to make evil around him. And what Dr. Peck is showing you is that actually true evil is a petrified apathy. It's an apathy that penetrates you so deeply that it affects literally every aspect of your life. With quotes like, if they would have suggested it to us, getting a counselor that is, we would have gotten Bobby some help. But since no one suggested it, we're just not able to think that that was important. We thought it wasn't important, in fact, because no one else came outside of ourselves. Remember this from yesterday? No one came from outside of ourselves and said, hey, morality dictates that you intervene with your son. All right? It's a totally different definition when we're looking at what evil is. We didn't think about it. That's the big quote. We didn't think about it. Or, we've got a living to make. Finding the time to send Bobby to counseling on weekends just because his brother died is hard. It's too many calories. No one told us how important it was. And then, of course, the mother comes in saying, did Bobby say he didn't want to live with us? Her concern over all this is, what is my reputation? What has Bobby done behind my back to my reputation? That's her position. So you start to understand that none of these people are out to get Bobby. And that's what makes it so evil. None of these people are out to hurt Bobby. All of these people are acting from inside of their moral fortitude. From inside of their palace, they have to find what is moral, and each of them are following that path. Now, certainly all of us could disagree. We could say, how could you be so evil? But what we really mean is, how did you get that evacuated? That's the better question. And that's why I say logos is nothing without aperture. And aperture is nothing without compassion. And what we need to learn, if we're going to take the next step, if we're going to pass through the next portal, we're going to have to learn what evil truly is. Because Hollywood paints evil in a beautiful light. It paints the most expensive set is always for the bad guys, right? It's the most intricate. The good guys get a single spotlight in white, maybe fog machine, soften it up. Evil is paint splattered and strained, right? It's bolts, it's jolts, it's jags and jips. It's an intensity that conveys a illusion. It paints you in. It hypnotizes you, is what evil does. But not Dr. Peck. There's nothing hypnotic about that at all. It's the real definition of evil. It's like what we've been talking about, the difference between a horror movie on Hollywood and an actual horror. These are very, very, very different things that we experience. And honestly, guys, I don't think we know what evil is. I think I can prove we don't know what evil is, because when I try and define things, when I try and show compassion for a planet, when I try and show all the things I can, there's such an electricity around that world evil that we can't even have an objective look at things. In fact, to look at something objectively is today the definition of evil. To consider Luciferianism as a study is evil. To research the definition of Satanism in a way that doesn't involve you splooging all over the screen shows you this difference, what it is we're after. In probably one of my most famous articles, The Anatomy of Satanism, I began that article explaining to you what a real-life Satanist is, what they look like. Believe it or not, Satanism is rampant in the military. It's more of like a Zen philosophy. I'm just talking about its day-to-day practice. Satanism itself is much akin to a practicing of judo. It's more about willpower, It does see the world in a very colder way, a reptilian way, possibly a more accurate way even. But Satanism is not exactly what we think it is. But we need it to be painted in a certain way so we can feel good. There are people who rise up on the dominion of defeating evil. They make their name by pointing at something that's not them and saying that is evil. And by the act of pointing that is evil, you yourself become good. Because that's how we've defined it now. And I would argue that we don't even know what evil is. I don't even have to argue it. I can prove it. Here's the very first definition of evil. Evil, adjective, profoundly immoral and wicked. And we'll talk about what immoral means, but maybe we need to define what wicked means. Wicked, adjective, evil or morally wrong. Oh, okay, well, we just need to define what evil is, then we'll know what all this means. Evil, adjective, profoundly immoral and wicked. Oh, okay, we just need to look up what wicked means, then we'll know what evil means. Wicked, evil or morally wrong. Well, let's go back to evil. Evil, profoundly immoral or wicked. So as you can see, we've created a circular definition in our world. We've told ourselves that, well, of course I know what the definition of evil is, James. It's wicked. And I go, well, what is wicked? Well, of course, James. Wicked is evil. Why are you having a problem with this? Why is this so confusing? And it's only a very, very small few of us that say, that's bullshit. That say, that doesn't sound like what evil is. This is why I've always told you that Satan is a title, not a creature. It's a title. And that when society has a stigma against a word, that society creates a fetish for that word, and people compete to wear that word as a crown. Just like Scott Peck, here's John McCain. It's very easy to think, well, John McCain's totally evil, James. Of course he's evil. And I'm even going to fight you on that. What I'm going to tell you is that John McCain is evacuated. He's evacuated. And why is he evacuated? Because he was put on a pedestal. Before he enlisted, he was told, you're a hero. You're a war hero. Your father was a war hero, therefore you're a war hero. When he joined, he was raised above all his peers. Again, that same raccoon syndrome, like Jared Kushner, where you're advanced despite your work. I want to remind you all that John McCain himself was on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier and accidentally released his fucking payload. And those missiles fell to the deck and rolled around, and thank God nothing happened. Did you know he got the Flying Cross for that? The Distinguished Flying Cross for dropping his fucking load on an aircraft carrier. They didn't punish him. They evacuated him. That's called pedestal abuse, right? That's called Perseus syndrome. We've gone over that. Hey, Perseus, here's your reward for killing Medusa. We're giving you your reward first. Now you have no choice but to kill Medusa. Here's some golden shoes. Here's a golden shield. Here's a golden helmet. Here's a golden sword. Go get it done. Evil is an evacuation. John McCain. I wanted to bring this guy up. This is Walter White. He's on a show called Breaking Bad. Right? You guys have seen that, maybe? What's the storyline of Walter White? He's a school teacher. Son is physically challenged. Wife is a piece of work herself. Of course, Walter's a piece of work. Walter thinks he's dying and does what he thinks morally right to defend his family, right? What does he do? He starts cooking meth, and he does it well. He doesn't just do it, he does it well. Why? Because he's not evacuated yet. In fact, the fact that he is about to die does the opposite of evacuated, doesn't it? It makes him more alive. It makes him fight harder. And it changes his entire moral framework in real time. You can certainly see aspects of his character where he's strengthened by Heisenberg, right? His character was Heisenberg, if you guys don't know. Sort of his alter personality. After he evacuated, actually, let me rephrase that. How did Walter White evacuate? By developing a personality to evacuate into. Heisenberg. If he had no character to evacuate into, where would Walter White go? He'd be stuck in himself. And that's not what the evacuated want. So you see that the motivations of Walter White aren't evil. You can see the motivations of John McCain. Even John McCain are not evil. And this is where I'll lose most of you, because most of you are so enthralled in the passion of QAnon that you don't want to see McCain as a victim. You want to see him as evil. And I don't think it's fair to call him evil as much as retarded. And the reason why I'm calling retarded is because he chose that evacuation a long time ago. He had an opportunity to fix that, and he didn't. The reason why he didn't fix that is because he lacked the calories. The reason why he lacked the calories is because he had emptied those calories a long time ago. When John McCain was sent to a prison camp, because he was an officer, he was given his own quarters. He was also told that if he could elicit more discipline, elicit more cooperation, that he would be rewarded handsomely. And he did that. Several people that were in prison with John McCain claim that still today. And what typically happens in prison is a trauma bond. What typically happens in prison is the opposite. That no matter how shitty you were acting, because you were in prison with your other guys, you guys have formed a bond. But that's not what happened with McCain. The people that were there with him didn't bond with him because they understood what he was. Skull and bones. Most of our elite are evacuated. Most of our elite do what we call evil. I'm not trying to say what they do is not evil, guys. I'm just trying to say that we have a definition of a word. We use a word that we don't know the definition of. And the reason why I think so many elites, quote, quote, are evacuated is because they leave their house at 4. At 4 years old, most elite go to a boarding school somewhere. That boarding school is the Heisenberg. It's where they evacuate themselves into. When you have a family name like this, when you have a family name that's more important than you are as an individual, the evacuation becomes almost automatic. The fact that they're leaving at 4 to go live in a boarding school really does cement that. They're even told, you're a Vanderbilt, right? You're a Bush. You're this, you're that. Of course you have to do this. It's a process for them. It's not even personal. And that personal makes it evacuation. It evacuates those children just like Bobby did. I'm going to take a little break here. Billingtano, thank you for your wrench service. You don't need to have that anymore. Look, douche, if you don't know what evil is and you can't listen long enough for the definition, maybe you need to go find Daily Wire. Go find a place where they tell you that evil is all the bad guys you don't like, Billingtano, and good is all the things you do like. And as long as it has sugar and sprinkles on it, it's good. And then you don't have to watch the stream. You already know the definition of evil. You've already got a clear idea of what it is. There's no way you can learn when you're typing that much, buddy. It's just impossible. This is just a different definition. It's simply telling you what evacuation is and how it works and why the elite are always evacuated. This is how you power the machine. Epigenetically, the evacuation is installed in your family and it passes down from generation to generation. I think Peck probably knew that the real source of Bobby's problems is his parents. This is why he interviewed them. This is why he showcased them. It's showing you the source of the problem. But Billingtano Bear, he's going to want to show you, no, evil is Bobby. Little Bobby's the evil one. We need to kill Bobby. That's what we need to do. Hey guys, let's go kill Bobby. And anyone who doesn't want to kill Bobby is secretly evil too. And guys, that's why I say compassion will always be drained when you think evil exists. Because to have that evil, it gives you ammunition. It gives you the ability to dump people inside that pit. You create that hole, and you say all things inside of here are evil. And you're done. You're set. You never have to go into that avenue again. Consider how many people freak out over the Jews. Like Adam Green's a good example. That guy thrives on there being this black hole for us to dump evil into. He's built his whole career over how evil the Jews are. And when you come into truth, you see that, and you see a leader, right? You see a crusader, a paladin. You think, I must follow that man. He is pointing at evil. He's pointing it with more veracity than anyone around him. Therefore, he must be good. And you end up building an entire platform from that. You end up saying, I can live off this. As long as there's evil in the land, I can thrive, right? I can plant my crops, they can grow. It's when you approach QAnon, it's when you approach Zionism, it's when you approach the Mashiach, it's when you approach Netanyahu with this compassion that you start to see how and why each of them got there, and more importantly, how and why it persists so much. What makes it brandish and outlast all other things? And it's because it's a motor. Pizzagate is a motor. QAnon is a motor. John Hinckley is a motor. All of the stories that you hear that make you think about how important it is that we find more money to give to Washington, D.C. to fight evil is that motor. All right? It is that essence. I don't think that that this is going to get a lot of traction with people that really love evil. Their wickedness comes with a charisma. It comes with an attraction to it. You can be attracted to it by loving it, or you could be attracted to it by repelling it. Either way, you're putting your prana into that. You're saying, all the prana goes here. We must fight pedophilia. There's no such thing as kids going to school with masks on because Pizzagate. Pizzagate gets all of my belief in evil. It's so important that you understand the difference between Hollywood evil and what we call evil. What we're calling evil, Hollywood evil, versus how it actually manifests, versus how it actually comes out in our daily life. Because no one ever talks about what Peck's saying. No one ever looks at how the essence actually builds, how it gets there, and how to solve it. Most people that fight evil don't want to destroy evil. Most people that fight evil need that evil to build a life off of. It's true. This is why you don't need to. You don't need to do that. Evil is an aperture. That aperture's level 5, right? You've got software installed. Level 3.0, we'll call it. Level 3.0, evil installed. And so you think you've been brought here to find all the evil, destroy it. And when you destroy all that evil, things will be good. The land of Zion will be restored. We've heard all these stories. All right? Evil is the opposite of compassion. We call weeds evil. We call ideas that scare us evil. We call planets that frighten us evil. We call ideas that people gave us evil. Then we call people evil. Evil is a label. Evil is something we use to self-soothe. If you really want to fight what you think is evil, you need to make it more expensive to be evacuated. We don't have a world where it's more expensive to be evacuated. We have the opposite of that. That's why this topic is so important. As we try and understand truly what the Logos is, One of the main definitions of the Logos is it's God's good. It's God's goods reflected in the scaffolding of the earth, right? And to me, that scaffolding is only going to be found inside you, inside yourself, how you perceive the world. It's morality itself is its own aperture. And things become more or less moral based on where you are in your compassion. I will kill a mosquito at night if it crosses the threshold of my house. I've made a moral decision that it is moral to kill within the confines of my home. It is immoral to kill outside. I try and live this way. It doesn't always work. Last night it did not work. There is a standard we all have for morality. And if you're telling yourself that morality comes from outside of you, if you're telling yourself that morality comes through Logos, you are looking to do what Bobby's parents wanted to do, which is to say, if someone would have suggested it would have helped, we would have gotten Bobby help. Bobby took that shotgun. He took it. He opened it up and recognized it right away. And he saw his parents gifting him the very shotgun that his older brother used to kill himself. And if your compassion is on level 3, I don't blame you at all for calling that's evil. We have to kill those parents. We have to fight that. And if you go in trying to fight those people, you're only going to make them more what you call evil. There's another way to do that. Compassion is the power of witness. That's all it is. And when you apply that witness to anything, it's going to heal. And when I say heal, it might make a bunch of other evil shit come out first in that process, as someone tries to process and find what that truth is. So level 3.0, that's probably the ones that are squirting yesterday. All the death threats. I got my first death threat yesterday. Woohoo! All those threats were level 3.0 morality. No, James. It's moral for me to tell you I'm going to fucking kill you. And that's what they typed yesterday. That was their moral decision. They're not evil. Do you know why they're not evil? Because they're hunting evil. Because they're on a crusade. Because they found the witch. When you can point to a witch, think about it, guys. Find yourself a lion, a witch, and a wardrobe, and you will captivate anyone. And that's exactly what's happening in our world today. Thanks for the super chat, MSB. Also, man, I got a massive one from D-Live. A big old shout out to Woodwoes. Thanks for the Ninja Guinea. Never got one of those, I don't think. Maybe I have, actually. This is not fun talking about what evil really is. I could tell you stories of tantalizing titties of evil, you know? I could give you these ideas and all these other stuff that's going on. This is a boring evil. It's the real evil, because it's apathetic. There's nothing more evil than apathy. And the only way to make a human apathetic is to evacuate him. And the best way to evacuate someone is while they're down, while they're in a shitty position, while they have no ego at all, to stand over them as they're huddled over and say, "You're evil. You have ego problems. You have too much ego. You're evil. You have too much ego." Imagine being in the fetal position and someone telling you that. Now, ask yourself, who's evil there? Is it the person in the fetal position, or is it the person who's not able to see any compassion at all? Because as you look at that person who's down, if you look at the McCain, if you look at the Walter White, if you look at any of these people, if you look at fucking Bobby's parents, you will find that they are following the Logos. They are tuned in to what we all call morality, and they're failing. And the reason why they're failing is not because of the logos failing them outside themselves. They're failing themselves because they're not able to listen. They've tuned into the radio, but their antenna has gone crooked. And when that antenna is crooked, they're no longer able to tune morality. Hi, Amy Polino. Thank you. This is why anyone telling you that you do not make your own morality is lying to you. They're just lying. I'm sorry, I can't say lie because I don't know their motivation. They're wrong. They're wrong, and it's dangerous. Because I will tell you, the reason why Bobby's parents said, well, if they would have suggested this, we would have intervened, is because Bobby's parents think morality comes from outside themselves. They think morality comes from a note from school. They think morality comes from anything except for themselves. Do you know how many calories you save uninstalling uninstalling compassion from your matrix? You save a shitload of calories. It's like the catalytic converter. Some of you guys know cars. You're like, man, I could really use some more room under this hood. I want to add a second auxiliary battery. I want to add a nitrous, whatever. I can lose this catalytic converter. I can get that much more oxygen. I could burn that much better. And we live in a world where, because we painted evil, the lion, the witch, and the wardrobe, the real evil gets to run everything. It's why we hunt reptilians in a comfort movement and psychopaths in a truth movement. No one ever wants to hunt a psychopath. You know why? Because they're too fucking hard to find and hunt. These guys are fucking evacuated. They've saved so much energy that it's hard to hunt them. Better to stay at home on our keyboards and hunt the Pizza Gators. Hunt the McCains. Hunt the Clintons. Of course these people are bad guys. But have you ever considered that these people have been bad and placed on the stage for the sole purpose of allowing you to direct your badness into them? Do you honestly think that no one's tried to do this before? That no one's been able to look out over the landscape of the zeitgeist of people and go, you know what? I could fucking capitalize on how much these guys freak out over a devil version of evil. I bet I could make all these people gather up torches. It's funny how we fear torches. The ones who fear torches, check this out. The ones who fear the torch of Prometheus are the first to pick them up to chase the monster through the village. Isn't that interesting? And that shows you the intimacy between truth and comfort, doesn't it? It shows you the evil. It shows you the evil we all commit by confounding the two. But we don't have to look at that evil as long as there is more amperage on the other side of the seesaw. And that's what Pizzagate's for. That's what Clinton's for. Guys, you can't call Clinton evil unless we're going to call us continuing to consent for the system that allows Clinton to grow wrong too. And we don't call that system wrong. We call that system America. We call that system democracy. We call that system moral. I'm here to tell you, people define their morality over life by asking the government, by asking the Supreme Court, dear Supreme Court, will you please tell me what's moral? And so the Supreme Court tells you, it's moral to charge health care under the auspices of a tax. It's moral to remove a living life from a womb. It's moral to kill anyone overseas as long as you use the word terrorist. It's moral to tax your time in a timeshares, in a sharecropping where everyone becomes a slave, a debt slave. It's moral to invade a country every 1.3 years. It's moral to cut the dicks off of children. It's moral to inject them with vitamin D. It's moral to inject them with Hep B. I'm here to tell you that as long as we think morality comes from outside the body, We will be living among evacuated retards, compassionary retards, because they believe in evil. And anytime they have to pick up that hammer of compassion, it's so fucking heavy, and they look and say, wait, here's a glazed donut covered in evil. I'd rather just have that. And that's what we're doing by offloading that morality. We're giving it to others and saying, you tell me what's good. Because that's the comfort movement, not the truth movement. Morality is a burn. It's like doing planks. It's like running hills. Like scrubbing the toilet. One is only moral through burning those calories. And you will find that as every day grows, you will become more or less moral. You'll either stop killing spiders or you'll start killing spiders. Each of us defines our own morality. And the most immoral thing we could ever possibly do is try and claim we don't. Is try and claim that somehow we're better if we say we don't do that. Because we do. Even when we do the right thing, we do. We're checking in with our system. We're looking through our aperture and figuring out what's too expensive for me, what's profitable for me, and you end up with what you think is moral. And that's all it is. It's what you think is moral. It's your best guess. And this truly goes back into what we were talking about yesterday. Thank God humanity has evolved from the world of Platonism. The world of Plato told you, no, morals are over here. It's all good. Math is over here. It's all good. Archons are over here. It's all good. Beauty is over here. It's all good. If there were no people, these magical planes of existence would still be there. And that people themselves are simply here and they're able to see into these other worlds and understand what truth is, what beauty is, what morality is. And it's so subtle that I don't even think Plato saw it, although I think the people who were playing Plato did. Because what that is disassociation. Guys, you disassociate from yourself when you believe this bullshit that you do not make your own morality. You disassociate from that because you are now looking for someone outside of yourself to be responsible for the bad things that you do. You'll blame a star. You'll blame Satan. You'll blame Lucifer. You'll blame a narcissist. You'll blame a sociopath. You'll blame everybody except for your own instrument. The truth is if each of us had a perfected moral instrument, that it would be that much more expensive for the rest of the world to be immoral. But right now, it's profitable. So what is morality? Like, truly, what is it? A lot of us like to think, well, morality is sort of like an absolute truth. It's the idea that outside of all man is the right answer, and that all man can either find that right answer or lose that right answer, and that that's the definition of good, moral, just, and even logos, because logos defines itself by beauty, right? Beauty like in the real effervescence beauty, beauty of ideal, beauty of thought. And that's what brings you right back into your body. Boom. It's funny, the people that are claiming, how dare you get outside your body for your morality. And when you look at what logos truly is, it puts you deep in your pelvis. It slams you deep in those bones and say, if you want to know what logos is, you must truly learn to see and define beauty. And I'll tell you something, beauty is closer to morality than any other word we have, but only if you're fully seated. We lose our definition of beauty because we think maybe it means lustful or colorful or attractive or nice. Ugh. Right? Or eye-catching or thrilling or outrageous. But beauty is a resonance. And that resonance is only felt when you're deep in your bones. I'm blown away by my friends. They show me their art, they show me their work, they show me their passion. And the reason why I'm so moved by it is because of how deeply seated I am inside of me. It allows me to feel the beauty of what they're saying, to feel that truth. But here we are arguing. It doesn't come from your feelings, James. Truth, morality, those are from these Platonic worlds. And if you want those, you're going to have to disassociate right now. You're going to have to tell yourself that you are not the one. You are not the creator, the arbiter, the knower of these things. You're the handmaid. That your job there is to please them as much as you can and hope that they will give you their bounty. And I'm saying, let's invert that. And as all of you say, he's inverted, he must be Luciferian. I remind you, we fucking live in an inverted world. Why are you so surprised that I'm inverting shit? Is it really that surprising that I have to invert words like ignorance and ego and pride and morality? Is it really that surprising? Look around you. Do you honestly think that the world, the zeitgeist, Babylon, I'm not talking about the world, I'm talking about Babylon. These are two different places, thank goodness. But if you're going to tell me that Babylon is moral, you have no business being on this channel. You have no business bringing me the definitions of Babylon, saying, James, you're the one that's evil because you're not conforming to the definitions of Babylon itself. Of course we've been inverted. Most of the truth I've found has been like, I'm going to invert that. What does that look like? Holy shit, that looks better. If I invert how we're treating ego, that looks better and it explains behavior. Fuck, I can explain compassion through the calories of ego. Your most powerful motor is your heart. Is pumping that energy, right? That vortex is churning. Where do you think that vortex goes? It goes into your plasma. It goes into your simulations. It goes into your belief, the technology of where your belief goes and grows and flows. You need those calories to be a moral person. If you do not have an ego, you will be Bobby's parents. And you will say, I didn't know something was wrong because no one told me. Thanks, City Maple Bear. Good to see you again. Always been a good help to the show. Thank you. Thank you for the super chat. This is hard work, guys. You don't get to come on. I don't get to come on the stream and say, here's morality. Everyone else sucks. It doesn't fucking work that way. And that was even before Aperture. Can you guys even comprehend how Aperture works, how morality works? Because if you're pretending that morality comes from these secret, absolute, Platonic planes, that would mean that there's always an absolute answer, which means regardless of the situation and the circumstances, the only moral thing to do is to copy the archon of morality. And I'd like you to ask that to Dr. Kevorkian. I'd like you to ask that to anyone who feels that they have sovereignty over their own lives, even when it means taking their own life. That I can't think of a better moral dilemma to have than whether or not someone should take their own life. Now, we can easily write across the board, evil. Anyone who takes their own life is evil. That's what it is. It's just evil. But each of us could come up with an example, if we wanted to, that would be very real, that would show you situations where this was necessary. Let's see what this says. Thanks, Mojo. Kevin Crater, if morality comes from outside, that means that we follow rule lists left for us by past humans. This deems that man is moral out of fear of disobeying a list from dead humans. Sterile, boring, and breeds fetishistic thoughts. I'm going home. Kevin is in charge of the show. Kevin Crater, could not have said that better myself. If I could have, I would have. Thank you. If morality comes from outside you, it means that the most important thing that you need to survive comes from outside you. How does that feel? How does that feel? You are an instrument of Logos. You play Logos. And you're either going to play it badly. Raise your hand. Most of us play it badly. Or are you going to play it really, really well? So well that no matter who hears your Logos, they automatically agree. Why? Because it resonates inside them. These people aren't going, wait a minute, Jesus is playing a harp. Let me check it on the Universal Zeitgeist Morality Board. Oh yeah, it turns out you're moral. Way to go. That's not how it works. You feel it in your bones. You feel truth in your bones. You fucking know it. Your intuition knows it. But we're ignoring the crystal ship. We're ignoring our human sonar. Thank you for being spare. We're ignoring our gifts that lead us to morality. And those gifts come from inside you, not from outside you. And the more you know that they're inside you, the more you're going to look for them inside you. The less you're going to look for them outside you. If you want to call that relativism, I'm going to call you misguided. Because one who is deeply set in their pelvis is not relativistic. They're consistent. Why are they consistent? Because they spent the calories finding the truth that resonated with them. If a new truth comes, their goal is not to identify that truth. Why? Because they have enough calories, they don't have to identify with it, which means they're willing to change if something resonates more with them. What makes them change is resonance. It resonates more than it did last time. We build truth like a ladder. We climb it. We walk up it like stairs. We are initiated into morality. We are initiated into truth. We are initiated into all things that we find in the world. We are miners of truth. We are miners of compassion. We are miners of understanding. That's what Scott Peck is doing. Read that book, guys, People of the Lie. Read it. It will unwrap what true evil is. It will show you what psychopathy is. It will show you what narcissism is. I forgot to pull this up. I am looking for something. The definition of evil. I'm going to read you guys a quick thing. Evil is a moat flowing with bile. The bile's not black, it's brown. Nor is it warm, it's cold. Evil is congealed. It's full of crusty teeth and the tangled hair of children. Evil's drawbridge is lined with spent teddy bears left in the rain on the side of the road. Evil is not a reveling red demon. Evil is not a hot sauce. Evil is the opposite of passion. Evil is the cobweb we keep in the corner. Evil's defensive moat is our false perception of how it looks. Evil is not a burning fire. When we say the word Satanism, we picture a red man between the head and feet of a goat. But goats are God's creatures, and man is God's vessel, and red is the color of living blood. None of these things are evil. Evil is an ignorant machine that gobbles tears. It's an abandoned wood chipper running in the playground. It's apathy measured by the degree. Evil is a chain of command. It starts with mutilation. The shame of it makes you itchy. The injustice makes you agitated. The drugs make you spin. The music sets a rhythm. The actors take your hand. The self leaves the body. The machine takes the wheel. But it won't, and it can't, when you love yourself. Let's define Satanism simply. It's the eviction of the person. It's the hollowing out of one's spiritual core. Under the definition, Satanism includes psychopathy, sociopathy, and narcissism. It's the soul that's checked out on the train. Under this definition, we can see the satanic machine around us. Evil is no brigadoon. It's brick and mortar with Roman numerals carved above the door. The Pentagon is satanic. DC is satanic. Hollywood is satanic. Courts are satanic. Corporations are satanic. Walking corpses rule our world. Satanism is sanctioned choreography. There's nothing conscious about Satanism. It's the antithesis of consciousness. Joe Rogan's show Fear Factor showed you the evacuation of the self. Every day on Fear Factor, or every show, more people would come to compete for who was willing to evacuate themselves the most on camera. Eating bull scrotum, drinking semen, eating bugs, lying with snakes. So much happened in that ritual that we don't realize. That person was saying, my pride, my ego, my reputation, my self-love are worth $10,000, $20,000. And I'll give them all on camera. It was a ritual of evacuation. It was a machine built to evacuate. And I think the reason why that show works is because we don't have enough compassion for each other. As long as we don't have enough compassion for each other, there's no motivation to perfect your morality. There's no motivation to even fight for it. Guys, you are here to produce morality. You're here to produce good. You're here to produce truth. I'm going to even quote some Freemasonry here. There's two stones, right? The first stone is the rough. The rough stone is cut. It's refined. I'd like you to think about all these things as refining them out of stone. Finding the roughness of the world and seeing the morality inside of it. And carving its corners, carving its weight, making it perfect. All of this comes with immersion, self-immersion. Two artists will paint the same painting, right? One will be light years deeper. That depth is caused by ego and compassion. It's caused by the ability to put more soul, more belief, more confidence into that work of art. The people that you see shining around you, the charismatic, are the ones that have more calories. They have more energy. That's all it is. That sheen, that shine you see is because they're not shaming. They're not shaming themselves using the bullshit of zeitgeist. Their shame is different. It's real. It's authentic. And because it's authentic, when they hear fake shame, when they hear accusations, when they hear fodder, it just bounces right off of them. I've been seeing some comments, some just awful things. And I take it as well as I'm taking it. If you could say I'm taking it well, it's because I don't need them. I don't define myself by how you guys feel about me. I've lost 1,000 subscribers over the last week because of others talking about me. And I've got 16,000 more just waiting. None of those can make me feel better or worse. It's simply a barometer for where I'm at. I just get to simply see what I'm doing is good here. I'm causing people to think so hard that they're polarizing and they're spinning. They're spiraling off. What is that caused by? It's caused by electricity. Why is there electricity? Because it's resonating in their bones and they're trying to hold that in. The bell is ringing and they're trying to grip their fingers on it to hold it still, but that bell is so fucking big that they can't do it. It rattles their own teeth trying to stop you and me and anyone else from taking that higher step, from finding that deep morality inside you. If you find morality in you and you fuck up, that's on you. That's your fault. If you think morality is outside of you and you fuck up, that's not on you. That's not your fault. Some of you keep asking, do I believe in sin? To sin is to miss the arrow. You fire the arrow, you miss the mark, it's called a sin. I do not believe in original sin. I do not believe that you were born, sinned before you got here. That's called evacuation. That's why most of you are calling me the names you're calling me. It's because I do not believe in original sin, that you came here broken, that you came here fucked up, that you came here to be punished. If you want to look at, well, yeah, but there's a salvation. I was saved. You cannot believe in being saved unless you feel like, and unless you believe that you need saving. Your desire for salvation is the motor. Your desire to not be sinned is the motor. These are all motors. Just like Pizzagate. Just like every other story they've told you. Just like the royal bloodline. Guys, there's nothing royal bloodline about Jesus. There's not a fucking thing about Jesus that was royal bloodline. Where do you see royal bloodline? In the evacuated. Where do you see people telling you that there's only one blood that was chosen by God to do things, to serve us, and that they alone are allowed to define their own system, just like we do, but only after being evacuated. What would an elite be like if they weren't taken away at 4? What would an elite be like if they weren't evacuated? This is Aleister Crowley, the wickedest man in the world. That's a title he gave himself after it was donned by some newspapers. That was his goal. Crowley's goal was to be the wickedest man on earth. Crowley's goal was to profit off the power of Pizzagate. That's what he was doing. He saw a moniker, he saw a throne, he saw an opportunity to become a circuit for electricity. And the only thing different about Crowley and any American Idol fan or anyone in Hollywood is that Crowley didn't care the flavor of that electricity. Crowley saw that good energy and bad energy were both electricity. Crowley understood that with a few photographs, a few stories, a few expeditions, that he could become that. This is why Crowley went to Loch Ness. Crowley saw the story of the Loch Ness monster. He saw that myth. He said, I'm going to climb on top of that dragon. That's going to be my horse. I'm going to ride that horse into infamy. And so he went down to the shores of Loch Ness and began a ceremony that he claims he was not able to close. He said, that ceremony almost killed me. And what happens in those ceremonies is obvious. If you read into and study Enochian magic, if you look into the life of John Dee, if you start to really dive into these magical practices of Crowley too, you see that every one of them is based in intricacy. It's based in Kabbalah. It's based in the more elaborate this system of magic is, the more people have to memorize it, which means the more people have to invest their calories in it, which means the more people are now invested in it being true. So as you can see, you're going to need a system of magic that's so busy that it requires so many calories that the people that have put that much time into it do exactly what doctors do. They simply say it's true because it's too expensive to say it's false. Isn't that what's happening with vaccines? Isn't that sort of a form of magic? Where doctors literally sacrifice 10 years of his life. And so now, what he thinks is true, right? What he might have trouble doubting, he doesn't have to doubt because he has all that sacrifice behind it. Guys, what is this map? Look at it. This is Kabbalah. This is Kabbalah disguised as a great awakening. And as you analyze this map, you roll your sleeves up because you realize, fuck, I got work to do. You've told yourself that truth doesn't come from inside you, that you can only have truth if you can decode this fucking map. And you look how complicated it is. You see Secret Space Program, you see Galactic Federation, you see the Moon, you see Antarctica, you see Q, you see United Federation League, you see Jordan Sather, you see the Vatican, you see you see all this stuff. And you're instantly a pupil. You're instantly invested in the search. In fact, there's tribe in the search. There's camaraderie in the search. People give you pellets for finding vistas and campsites. I've gotten those pellets. I've lost those pellets for taking them away. If you think morality comes from outside your body, you're going to love Q. If you think truth comes from outside your body, you're going to love Q. It's the same way you're going to love any story like this, whether it be Pizzagate, whether it be World War II, whether it be Vietnam, JFK, even Aleister Crowley. All of this are gates. They're all energy gates. We're moving electricity from one place to another. It really comes down to, are you smart enough to notice? Are you capable of understanding? It's hard. It's hard. And level 3.0 has one truth. Level 4.0 doesn't. Level 4.0 understands that truth is a product of man. Truth is what we carve from the stone. Truth is what we make it. And it's time itself that will end up defining what's real. Because what's real is what lasts. I can prove it. Like you guys, in your free time, to scroll back 3 months into any of your social media platform you want. Just scroll back 3 months and tell me how much those stories affect you now. Tell me how much those stories you're still working on, you're still thinking about. Because the answer is those stories have a shelf life of about 12 minutes. And that right there is your internal barometer about what's true. If those stories only have 12 minutes, don't you think it's important that they're coated in sugar, sprinkles, syrup, whipped cream, cherries? Don't you think it's important to fortify it with as many bright, shiny things as possible? This is why Epstein Island had so many amazing parts to it. Because they knew that truth would only last in your gullet for 12 minutes. Then you'd shed it out, thank goodness. You were born here to make truth. You were born here to see truth. You're just afraid of your skills. And when you're afraid of your skills, you ask someone else. You give someone else that responsibility. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. That's called delegation. And delegation is a form of abandonment. It is. You can delegate someone to someone and they'll do a better job than you, but you still abandon that task. You took your belief in yourself and you gave it to someone else. Sometimes you're going to have to do this. Sometimes you're going to want to do this. Sometimes this is a ritual, right? We form unions this way. We form bonds this way. But those of you who are on the path of truly finding the self, using a little self-reflection, understanding that if Logos truly is understanding the deeper inner beauty of the world, whether that be in truth, morality, aesthetics, music, writing, song, that in order to find that deeper reality, you would have to be more seated in your bones than anyone else. And if your morality comes from your bones, the only way to have the most accurate, long-lasting reality is to be there. And that's why we're here. We are here to stop crawling. We are here to stand on our own and say, I'm willing to try. I'm willing to make morality my own. I'm willing to carry my standard of truth and morality and say, to the best of my ability, this is what I think is true. This is what I think is moral. And that's a scary thing for so many to do. It's terrifying. And that's why we're here. That's why you're in Dojo Earth. You're here to have this shit scared out of you. That's why the roller coaster feels that way. It opens your aperture, allows a new setting to come in. Install 4.0 with me, please. I'd like you to download the Compassion is Not Consent now and put it into your BIOS. Do you know why compassion is not consent? Because they're two different words. That's literally the most basic proof you need. They're two different words. Why the fuck are they two different words if they're the same thing? After you install that, please install that we don't know what the fuck evil is. We call evil wicked. We call wicked evil. That's not a definition. It's called circular logic. Install 4.0. Because as long as you have a hole in your heart for what is evil, you will be able to stick anything you want in there. You'll throw dandelions down that hole. This is evil. It's a weed. You'll throw anything good down that hole. You won't understand what's there. Someone said, James, how dare you talk about gifts of Baal? If my mom dies of cancer, is that a gift of Baal, James? Yes. Yes, that's a gift of Baal. You just found out how precious life is. You just found out in a split second the decades and decades of abandonment you went through and the decades of abandonment you used to apply to others in one fucking second. Paul gave that to you. And you're shitting on it. You're shitting on it because someone told you evil exists. Someone told you that evil exists inside your body. Someone told you that you have zero capacity to find morality, good, beauty, logos, or fucking truth. Guys, take the gifts of Baal. You don't have to, but fucking take them. Because the sooner you do, the more you're going to grow. You're going to be a badass when it comes to compassion. You're going to find yourself on a whole new level. And you're going to be able to dial down your aperture all the way down to 3.0 and watch as someone screams that you're a secret Luciferian sodomite. You'll be able to see them with compassion and know, man, that's what fucking 3.0 can see. This is all you can see at 3.0 because you got this giant magic bag of holding like in Dungeons and Dragons, and you can stick any fucking thing inside it and it will not put on more weight in you. That's what evil is. It's a bag of fucking holding. There's nothing evil in this world except for the lack of compassion. That's what's evil. And if all of us had the true power of witness, none of us would be comfortable enough to commit evil in front of each other. None of us would be capable of being immoral because it would feel too uncomfortable. We would feel the electricity from others because they were so deep-seated in their bones. It's what a police officer uniform does. That fashion gives you a false electrical field. And no one who goes into the convenience store when there's a cop in there is going to shoplift. They're going to fucking wait until that uniform's gone. That uniform is false morality. That uniform is confidence, isn't it? That uniform is ego incarnate. That's why the cops wear it. Wear your morality. Watch the vagabonds. They're not able to steal in front of you. They feel it too much. They feel your morality vibrating from your bones, and it's so loud it shakes their windows. It stops them in their tracks and goes, it's morally good to still rob this store, but I'm just going to do it later. They're not even going to know why. Do you know why they're not going to know why? Because they're evacuated. They're evacuated. You've been told your whole life to evacuate. You've been given profits to evacuate. You've been promoted to evacuate. Women have married you because you've evacuated. Men have married you because you evacuated. You will only get benefits in Dojo Earth from evacuating. That's how this system works. That's why consent is the only way to make this happen. It proves consent, system, because the only way to make someone consent is to make it profitable for them. And that's what we've done. We've made it profitable to abandon our morality, just like we made it profitable to abandon our sovereignty, just like we made it profitable to abandon our own truth. That's why everyone's wearing masks on a lie. That's why we're still bombing countries and telling each other the answer is to vote for Trump again. Because we've abandoned that morality. And we think, until someone else tells me, hey, I think you should stop voting for me because I'm just going to use it to bomb more fucking orphans, you think it's okay not to do anything. Because you are a people of the lie. The people of the lie are the people that think that morality does not come from inside themselves. Those are the people of the lie. And they run the world right now. They do. That's Babylon. We're building something new. It is happening already. This Sunday, 6 p.m., Beach Mountain, North Carolina. Brent Scheineman and I and many other friends are having a campfire. We've lost our location. This is why I'd love to have land. I'm working on that. But we lost our location, but we will find another one. If you want to come up and join us Sunday at 6 p.m., please do. I think we're probably going to end up at this awesome place called the Beach Alpen Inn. You can look that up, Beechalpen. It's a nice lawn overlooking the valley. I think we could have a great talk there. There is a fire. However, it's in a fireplace. This is why I want land. But still, if you're interested in that, I'd like you to email Brent Scheineman, please. I'm going to spell it out. It's Brent Scheineman, SCHENEMAN @gmail.com. If you email Brent and say, hey, I want to come Sunday, as soon as we have the spot, he will email you directions to that and just give you more details on that. Again, we're definitely saying it's going to be Sunday at 6 p.m. Enough people have said, James, I just want to come hang out, that I've just decided, even if we don't have an actual campfire, we're just going to do it. So here's Brent Scheineman to you guys in D Live. Here's Brent Scheineman to you guys in Facebook. In YouTube. Facebook, I know you're there. I don't keep Facebook open because the notifications would ruin the stream. So there you go. Yep. I'm going to end the show today. I'm going to see if there's any really big questions. Someone has asked that I do an entire episode on, could you, okay, yes, I will. That's a great one. Thanks, OKC Bear. Upstate Bear, may I suggest an entire stream on compassion? I feel like I've been doing that, Upstate Bear. I will consider it, though. But it feels like every episode has been on compassion itself. But I do see why you're saying that. James, could you apply this definition of evil to proactive, violent acts? Here's why this will always get us in trouble. It's a great question, Duodecimal Bear. Guys, the reason why we fail to understand morality is because we keep thinking we can install it in hypothetical examples. Guys, that's how they sold you on NASA. Do you know why you believe in NASA? Because a long time ago, we started believing in hypothetical examples. We started saying, hypothetically, by the way, this is not going on you, Duodecimal Bear. Please hear it. This is not about you. Hypothetically, we could launch a rocket that would look like a giant penis, would spewage all over smoke. Hypothetically, it would traverse the Earth's atmosphere at a curved orbit that would look like it's going to crash in the water, but actually, hypothetically, leave orbit. And it would hypothetically go, do you see what I mean? Hypothetically, you could build an entire system and it would all be based on lies. All of it. All of it. The truth of every moment is known. The moral decision of every moment is known. The reason why we have trouble with it is because it's hard. It's not because we're not sure what's moral or not. Guys, if you are halfway healthy, if you have not abandoned yourself, you will know what's wrong. You know that. You already know that. The reason why you struggle with moral decisions is because they're hard, not wrong. They're hard. And that's why it's easier when we compare our own moral decisions, knowing something's hard, compared to what the zeitgeist is telling us, going, no, dude, he was a shit to you. So no, you don't have to do this hard thing. You actually get to be a shit to him back because that's how morality works in the zeitgeist. And you're like, oh, great. I love that I'm not defining my own morality because I didn't like my answer. This whole world's being hijacked because of that. That's why Pizzagate sells. That's why I lose 1,000 followers, because I tell you, hey man, guys, the planet Venus, it's not so bad. It's just a luminary. That's all. It shows you. It shows you where so many are. They want that comfort. They want that surrogate, right? They want that autopilot. They want that service like Siri, right? They want to be able to say, Siri, is this a moral decision?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
You see?
Could you please repeat it?
She doesn't fucking know morality. Siri's never going to be able to tell you what's
I found
moral.
2 places. Tap
She'll
the
send
one
you
were
places.
looking for.
Shut up, Siri. Stop looking for morality outside yourself. Stop thinking that if there were no humans in the world, truth would still exist. It wouldn't. It wouldn't. Guys, that's an old thinking. That's old thinking. That was based on this Platonic idea that everything's solid, that everything's materialistic, and that certain materialistic things have a soul poured into them. The only reason why we think that is because we believe in germ theory. We've been told a long time ago the world is profane. We get to inject holiness into it as long as God blows on it first. Invert that. Invert it. Take it back to the pagan. Take it back to the heathen. Take it back to the Native American. This soil is sacred. It is my root and my bone. I derive all my lessons from my ancestors. Pull that, percolate morality and truth up from the soil. I guarantee you, you're going to be wrong in 50 to 100 years. Make the amount of time it is that you're going to be right as long as possible. That's morality. That's truth. Because truth is slow. Lies are always there first. They're there first, and they're the first to leave. Truth is a slow train coming. And when it comes, it lasts a long time. That's how you know it's truth. It persists. That's why good songs have more logos, don't they? Because 20 years later, people still know them. They still know the truth of that song. Morality is very similar. It works the same way. Time itself is helping you define what's moral, isn't it? It's helping you define what's true. Time itself is your cipher for morality. Because it's only through time that you can grow things like regret. You can ferment feelings, right? I fermented regret from this decision that I thought was moral. Because of that decision, I've refined myself. I no longer look at Sarah Ruth Ashcraft as the arbiter of truth because she makes me feel stronger and more passionate about it than anyone else. Now I see through the lies and I understand that the truth is much more apathetic and cold. That the truth has nothing to do with red devil blood. The truth is an empty room. The truth is an empty room with a curtain. And behind that curtain is nothing. Nothing at all. But we sit around that curtain, whispering to each other, the devil's behind there. Behind that curtain's the devil. And that means evil exists. And that means anything at all that you find uncomfortable, you can bring it into this room, and you can throw it over that curtain. And you can live your entire life feeling better, knowing that you're good because you cast something over that curtain. And when this is all over, possibly in 220 years, before it's time for us to deluge and reset, we will look to each other and realize that in that room, behind that curtain, is a pit. And that pit gets deeper, just like a bag of holding, every time we throw something inside it. That pit itself is the demon pit. That pit is where we cast things that we've demonized. Every single moment of your life is an ancestor. Yesterday is your ancestor. The day before is your ancestor. When you're 5 years old, that's your ancestor. Your great-grandparents are your ancestors. Your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-parents are your ancestors. All of them have a sculpture of morality, truth, logos, and beauty that they've been working on a whole hell of a lot longer than the zeitgeist has. Trust that. Even if you think it's wrong, wear it because you'll notice that time is giving you the cipher. It's unpeeling it for you. And as long as you're seated deep in your pelvis, you'll feel that. You'll know it right away. You'll become an artist again. You'll be a sculptor of truth, not someone who's waiting for it to be fucking delivered by Amazon. Right now, so many of us are looking at tracking numbers, Truth is coming. It'll be here. As soon as it gets here, I'll have it. Then I'll be able to cast all you guys out of here. It's the laziest thing we could do. It's what dick cutters do. It's what Zionism's all about, right? Because Zionism tells you there can be only one. Plato tells you there can be only one. Everyone tells you there can be only one, and there's not. Guys, logos is nothing without aperture. Aperture is nothing without compassion. And compassion is nothing when you believe in evil. Install 4.0. We can do amazing things with this software that's waiting for you. Do it. Don't be afraid. Have a great day, guys. Happy Wednesday. Don't forget BrentChinaman@gmail.com if you want to come Sunday. There are other events happening. If anyone is to email Brent and tell them about your event, I will be happy to announce the city, and then they could contact Brent. Brent could sort of be your filter so no weirdos get there. And then you could invite people to your campfire this Sunday if you're having one. I would love it if you guys would do that. Brent has volunteered to do that. He puts in a ton of time, not just for me, but for all of us. He's looking for that same truth. So let's make it happen, y'all. Let's really, really, really make this the best apocalypse ever. We got a big summer. We got a lot to do. Let's do it together. All right, guys.